Hi, Neha. Thank you for agreeing to be a part of this. It is truly an honor to be able to interview you. Could you introduce yourself and your business, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. So let me introduce myself. I'm Neha Charnalia. You can find me on LinkedIn. And what I have done is started an online food retail shop. It's called SwitchGrocery. You can find us at switchgrocery.com. Any social media platform you can think of, we live there. I live on social media. And we are lucky really to have two missions. So our first mission is that we help food brands get past traditional retail and get to customers faster. And our second is we support our customers on their health journey, which I think every single person is on a health journey right now. And so we get to show up every day to do that. And me personally, I actually am an accountant. So I did my CPA, I worked at a big four accounting firm, Ernst & Young, then in the not-for-profit sector, and now I run SwitchGrocery.
That's amazing. I think you're doing an incredible job, and I think Switch is doing an incredible job. So Neha, how did the idea really come up? What inspired you to touch this niche? Could you walk us through the journey, please?
Sure. And I'll say it again. If you notice me looking at my notes, it's because I took notes. But I think that there's two really ways to start a business, Lubna, that I've seen. And one of them is that you find a problem in society that you're trying to solve, and you can research those problems. You go online, you follow trends, and you say, is there something I can do faster, better, cheaper than somebody else? And many people do that. The second way is you can start a business or find your niche, is that you keep your eyes open in your own life for a problem and it comes up, right? We often say, even when we could be driving or going somewhere, we could say, why can't this happen? And then sometimes you can be inspired to do the thing rather than asking the question. And so for me, it was the latter, which is my background's Indian. And, unfortunately, I have a family history of heart disease, diabetes. It all runs rampant in my family, which, all of us blamed ourselves, but really later there's a lot of research that's come out that is in our genes as well. And so, they always say genes load the gun and environment pulls the trigger. And so for me, I really worked hard a lot, and I wanted to find a way to, with long hours, to be able to get on top of my health. And so the problem just came up, which was I started to follow a grain-free, low-carb lifestyle, and it really helped get my blood sugar under control, my blood glucose levels, and it made me feel better. So that was my problem, which I was cooking everything, and being in your 20s and cooking, I don't know, some people love it. I did not. And so at that time, 5 years ago, there were not, I guess actually I was in my 30s and I still didn't like to cook. But at that time, there were not many low-carb, grain-free products accessible to people. And so that was really the problem that I wanted to solve, which was I wanted to make low-carb, grain-free products more accessible so you could buy them and actually make a physical product. So that's what inspired me to start this.
How did you get to taking Switch from that position? I mean, the initial stages to its success now, really, like what avenues of education, be it or mentorship, like what helped you to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I had a lot of wins. And I always say you make mistakes, but as long as a mistake doesn't take you out, you get a job and you make mistakes, but as long as those mistakes don't cause you to get fired, and even if they do, you'll find another job, you'll be fine. But I was extremely lucky to have phenomenal education, mentorship, and people who contributed to the success of Switch. I think the first one is I just had a job before I started Switch. So again, two schools of thought on this. You can start a job, you can start a business right in college, in university, where we all know Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook. or you can get a job and then start a business later. And I always say that it is literally never too late to start a business. And it is literally never too early to start a business. So you just get to decide what to do. So I think the main avenue, Lubna, that really helped me was just the fact that I actually had a job. So I had worked with really smart people in accounting, and I had traveled to Australia. Like I just got a really great opportunities with Ernst and Young. Whether it's traveling, whether it's mentoring, whether it's I worked really hard, but working around smart people. And I'm from an immigrant family. So sometimes I'm a first generation immigrant, which means I moved here when I was 13 years old. So my parents necessarily didn't know the system and what is the system, and they couldn't mentor me in some ways. And other ways, they were way amazing mentors. But I think I grew up at work. Like people just taught me how to show up, how to communicate, how to have difficult conversations. And so I would say the number one for me that contributed to Switch was having a job before. The second thing was you cannot start a business at home in your pajamas. And maybe you can during COVID, but the point that I'm trying to make is I've never been someone like when people think of a startup, they just think of you working on your laptop on a blog. But I've talked to bloggers as working with Switch, and you literally will not get far just by yourself. So I joined two places. One was Food Starter, which was a food accelerator in Toronto, and that had a commercial kitchen. It also had other suppliers that I could get access to and carry their products. I started picking and packing from there. After that, I transitioned to another accelerator, which was called Women on the Move. And we rented space there, space for events. So at both these accelerators and they were really low cost, I would say. So you can you can go co-working, again, when COVID's over, you can go co-working for $12 a day. You can find places. They may not be in the Toronto, the sexy co-working spots, but you can find some co-working because at least you can even overhear conversations, right? So those are sort of the things that I would recommend, which is don't be scared to get a job. Don't be scared to get a co-op experience. And don't be scared, try to be around people as much as you can after COVID's over, I guess. Yeah.
No, that's really interesting. And I think you brought up some really great points and some really great resources for students really who are just looking out to begin. And on that note, did you take any external financial support, or how did you really fund your business? How do you fund Switch?
Yeah, this is another hard question because it's very personal, right? Everybody's financial situation is so different. And so I want to caution that this is my experience. This is what I did. I had savings called, from working basically a relatively higher paying job in society. And I was very privileged to be able to have that. And I also was very privileged to have a home where I could get access to a line of credit. So the question here really is, how much money do you need to start a business? That's the question, right? The answer to that question is you need a lot of money to start a business, or you need very little money to start a business. And what I mean by that is anyone can sign up for a Shopify account. Lubna, you know this, you're learning Shopify. You can sign up for a Shopify account for $25. You don't need much but the problem is you'll need something to list there. So if you're starting a service-based business, you have a high barrier to entry because many people start services business, digital courses, you've seen it. There's an influencer lifestyle. People sell courses, people sell to moms, people sell to everybody, right? So that's free to start. But the issue is there's a lot of people doing that. It's harder to start relatively. Whereas with a product business, you need money. You have to buy products to sell. That's just nobody's going to give you products with no credit. So you need to literally hand over $2,000 for your first round of inventory. And that's got to come from somewhere. So I think that's the key where for us, because we were starting a product business, I made the call at that time that I would get a home line of credit at that time and use the home line to get to pay. Some people may not want to do that. but it's very hard to get external money based on an idea. Nobody's going to give you money based on an idea. So that's where we started. Now, have you heard of ClearBank?
No, no.
So ClearBank is freaking incredible. Like everybody needs to Google them right now. And so 2 years in, they advanced us funds to run ads. One of the things that I was thinking about before this interview was the mistakes I made. For the first 2 years, I ran 0 ads. And there was this pride that comes with, I don't need to run ads. I just need to like build my business organically, which I did for 2 years. What I would say to that was also a lot of like pride and misplaced pride in a way, because at the end of the day, if you really believe in what you're doing, you need to reach more people. You need to reach Canadians. Not all Canadians are going to find you through your friends and family and through your first few customer friends. We call them our customer friends. So you need money to run ads, and ClearBank's model, I love it. They advance you money to run ads. You pay them back as a percentage of your sales. They just launched Clear Angel, which is a fund to, again, you would take money, let's say, I think it's between $10,000 and $25,000. And they would, because they understand that access to funding is limited, especially for people of color, Indigenous, and Black, or Black brothers and sisters. So what they do is they actually say, you can apply to this fund and you pay us back as a percentage of your revenue. So they're a really great funder that doesn't care who you are, what you look like, whether you have an accent. They don't care. They're going to fund you based on your results. So you just have to go out there and first get your sales, and they fund you based on your sales. So that's what we did. And ClearBank has allowed us to really scale our business in the last year and a half. So that's sort of the summary of funding, if that helps. And like, to summarize, I would say, be aware of your situation, see if you can get your own access to money first, see if you can get, if it's inventory versus a service, and then be as cheap as you possibly can. And then once you have traction, you can go to ClearBank.
I think that was a great resource, because like, especially for me, when I start out a business, these are some great things that I could use when I'm trying to start something of my own. And thank you for that. So this one was a very popular question, and it was actually decided by our team. How is Switch going to compete with the major retailers that are out there and are likely to enter this segment, really?
Yeah. That's a great question. It's actually about our business model, and not a lot of people ask that unless you're in the food industry. So there's 2 ways. Number one, I'm not scared to leave money on the table. And that's what I mean by that is, you can apply that to any business, but our business model really is, we go and try out a variety of products. We pick the best one and we carry that in our store. So what we're doing is the opposite of Amazon, or the opposite of what other retailers are doing, which is, let's give choice to our customers. We don't want to give choice because people don't have time to go and do this research. And so that's the service we provide, where sometimes my tummy hurts because we actually try every low carb chocolate on the market and pick the best chocolate. Most retailers will not do that because they want to give choice to customers. And so what we're doing, though, Lubna, is we're leaving money on the table, because if I carried 3 chocolate brands, I could probably sell more chocolate, right? But I'm only carrying 1 chocolate brand. But what that means is that we have a deeper connection and we're offering deeper value to our customers. And that's really, really important to me. Ultimately, the other thing is we have exclusivity with our suppliers. So we don't carry anything that is found at Loblaws. And 4 in 10 Canadians shop at Loblaws. It's the biggest, obviously, retail store. There's Save On Foods out in the West. And of course, the others, which are Longo's, Farm Boy, and all of them. We don't carry any products. If you are in a Loblaws, we don't carry you. So again, another niche where we say we only carry early to mid-stage products. And our goal is that in the food industry, you have a long chain. So you buy from supplier goes to broker sells to a distributor sells to Loblaws distributes to stores. So many times you buy food, you're actually paying a lot more for the transportation. It makes sense. Like turmeric is not, for example, grown in Canada, right? Turmeric has to travel here from other places. Turmeric is one of the top growing products, actually. So I guess that's sort of what I'm saying, where we're coming in to change the business model, is saying we're going to buy more direct from suppliers, or more direct from good early distributors who don't mind lower margin. And then we're going to offer that to our customers. So we've actually even delisted brands from our store. Like once they get bigger, we delist them because we then make room for new, smaller brands. And I think that's the main way you have, like, it's what you said, which is ultimately someone can do something better than you, faster than you, cheaper than you. They can. So you really need to compete based on what you're really good at. But the only way to do that is you actually have to leave money on the table. You have to be willing to grow slower, willing to make difficult choices. There have been brands that have approached us and are listed in multiple places, and we'd like to carry them. But sometimes we've just had to say no. And that's our business model. Every broker and distributor told me, there's a guy, Libna, who came up to me at a food show and he's like, what are you doing? It's never going to work. You need to have so much selection. You don't know what you're doing. Like, I've heard of you and I've heard you're very restrictive with what you carry. But being restrictive means I don't have to have millions of dollars tied up in inventory. I can be small and nimble because I have 200 SKUs, which is 200 different products in our store. Also, most of them are 5-star reviews, because you're going to go to another 50,000 SKU store and find 1, 2, 3-star products. You'll definitely find, because not all our products are for everybody, but you'll find more 5-star reviews than 1 to 2. Does that help?
No, yes, definitely. And that was so inspiring, actually. And I love the business's value proposition and the whole concept of sustainability and focusing on small businesses and just their upbringing. I think that's an amazing. And just on that last note, is there any advice or insight that you would like to give to students like me who just want to start their own journey to entrepreneurship? Just anything.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. There's 2 things. This was the question that got me the most excited, because I really went back and I thought, what would I tell myself? And I pictured all of you and I was like, what would I tell you guys to succeed, to get your happiness, whatever that is. The first thing is you have to find a way to communicate, because there's no way, whether you're passionate about climate change, racism, right? Like poverty, there's some really deep issues in our society today, plus small business, whether you're passionate about technology, food, like I am, health, you have to find a way to communicate. If you're not okay so for me, I was really nervous, but I remember the date, January 1st, 2017, I registered SwitchGrocery and I said, hi, I'm Neha. I had 1 person watching the first story, right? It's just, who even are you? And the first 10 were probably my coworkers who I just quit my job. And they're like, what is she even doing? And I just started randomly cooking. My second post, if you go back all the way to Switch, is of my dog. And she had a paw on our iPad. And I was just like, she's just like, what do I do? I'll be your employee. And I took that photo and just put it on Instagram. I didn't wait. I wasn't waiting for something to come along. I just started. And I think I'm comfortable on Instagram. I'm not comfortable on TikTok, right? So that's something that I need to get better at, because I'm oh, what do I need to do on TikTok? How do I better, let me rephrase that. What I'm not comfortable with TikTok is, how do I better communicate food brands on TikTok? That's a freaking challenge and a half. So I think what I would say to people is, what I would say to you, right, is, and you're wonderful. These questions are so well thought out. And what I would tell you is, you obviously have a lot to say and you need to find the best place you feel comfortable to say it. It could be Twitter, it could be LinkedIn, it can be go on Clubhouse and start a room. It can be Instagram Reels that are getting a lot of organic traction right now. So any of these social platforms, you need to start almost like practicing being on a platform, because to make any significant change in society or to run a business, you have to be on social media. You have to be able to communicate. And that's the first piece of advice I would give you. The second piece is, so what I would say is the second piece is just awareness, which is, what is your financial situation and what are your goals? And what I mean by that is, at 19, you need to decide, if you're 19 years old, you need to look at yourself and say, do I have any life savings? Do I have my parents willing to support me? Do they have resources to support me if I take a risk at this moment? If the answer is yes, that's great. But what you need to be conscious of is, again, this is the self-awareness piece, is money often comes with strings, right? Parents may support you, but they'll support you and say, well, my expectation is X, Y, and Z. And starting a business is very different from pleasing your parents. You have just one, when you start a business, it's a one-track mind. You have to find and serve your customers. That's it. There's literally nothing else you need to do. Even like charity, don't do it until you find and serve your customers, because first you need to build a business before you even think about charity. So that's sort of the thing of, money comes with expectations. So you just need to be self-aware to say, if my financial situation is such that I want to start a business and don't want to get a job, then I'll do it. I'll take the getting my laundry done, the meals made, but I need to meet those expectations. If their expectations is I need to go get a job, well, then I'll just work on my business at night. If your goals are that you want to live with roommates or go out more or have travel more, well, then you need a job, because nobody is going to pay. Like, nobody paid me the first dollar for like 7 months, right? They're just like, who are you? And what are you even trying to sell me? So, and people don't like being sold to, you know that, like, people do not like being sold to. I don't like being sold to, and I don't want to be in a position where I'm forced to sell to make money. I'd rather say, this is the vision of my business and I want to support my customer. In that thing, if like they buy my services, they buy my products, that's great. If they don't, I hope they got some value from me and they can, like, stay in my community, but I don't want to force sell. Like, and so I think the financial piece is really important. You asked me about how do you finance the business. That financial piece is really important, because if you have a job, then not only are you getting experience in these jobs, but then you can make decisions. Or like if you have a summer job, you can get that experience at a job, learn and watch people around you with how they manage people, how they communicate, practice yourself, and then you can have a startup on the side. Some people would completely disagree with me and say, go all in. You're like 19, you have nothing to lose. But again, comes back to self-awareness of then you're like kind of chained to your parents and you need to listen to them. So I wrote down, actually, financial independence gives you freedom, way more freedom than you know. So that's really important. Especially I think if you're like, again, for me being an immigrant, like I didn't have that choice. I had to get a job. I could not start a business. I graduated with debt. I graduated with OSAP and I had to buy a car. So for me, it was get a job. And so I did. So I didn't start a business until later. And, for me also, my husband has the job while I started the business. So we had to take that risk as a family, and we have a young baby. So that's sort of my awareness where, we have made a lot of sacrifices to start this business and I've walked away from a high paying job, but it's been worth it. But I'm so glad that I did it with the awareness. And I just want to pass that awareness on to you, basically. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, the main point really is to engage with the customers and just be self-aware of things around you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know that you do a lot with the community building and engaging with customers. Like, could you tell us more about it and just how it is important for e-commerce today?
Yeah, I mean, you can't have a business without customers, basically. It was interesting when I read that question, I was just like, everyone asks me this question where they're just like, how did you grow your Instagram, or how did you grow your Facebook group? And I think for me, in really reflecting, it's what I said, which is I didn't grow an Instagram following for the purpose of growing an Instagram following. I didn't grow an Instagram following for the purpose of selling to people. Um, and this is really tough because now we have a team, and sometimes this becomes discussion on the team, like, Neha, we need to sell more. Maybe, like, again, maybe we've left money on the table. But the other part of it is, if you want to really um, have a community, and I think the other part of it is you need to be part of that community first. But if you really want to, I hate the word building a community, I'm trying to say this, the first thing is just not selling and supporting them, which is what I've already said. But the second thing is, this is a little bit more deeper, is they've actually been there for me. So many of our customers place their first order, place their 300th order with, like our number 300. I remember the numbers, the first 10 orders, then the first 20, first 300, first 1,000. Then it got a little bit easier. But so many of our customers have been with us for a very long time. And they've brought their friends, they brought their family. And I say this often on Instagram, I couldn't do it without them. And they actually have ended up inspiring me. It's like the reverse. So when I became a mom, I was like, I can't even answer messages. And they were like, oh no, Neha, it's okay. Like, they were answering each other's messages to like help me. And that's something completely unheard of, like in our society, right? Like who helps a small business owner by like literally saying, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but like my package broke, but like I know you have a new baby, you know? And well, okay, let me tell you this. There's two ways to grow your community. One is in a genuine way, right? Which is what I did. And the second thing is you got to lean on your strength. If that's not what you want to do, because there are some of our suppliers, and I'll tell you this, some of my suppliers have said to me, they don't want to show their face on Instagram. They don't want to show their face on Instagram. They don't want to build for me, it's coming naturally and I love doing it and I love showing up. For them, it doesn't. So then I would say, if you need to, again, go where your strength is. If your strength is not building a community, or you don't want to, and I don't think it's building community. If your strength is not engaging with people, you don't want to do that, then your business has to reflect that. So either you go on Amazon, where you can say, I list my product in Amazon, I'll respond to reviews, do some customer service, but I'm not going to build this community. But even then, you'll still need some reviews, right? So then you need to focus on getting very happy customers. So I think you got to go same thing where your strength is. And I went where my strength is, which is I'm happy with our customer friends. I learn from them. They help me with my business. I help them sometimes at night, like chatting about like pandemic, where this is awful. Like, what are we doing? And I love that. And I'm okay with that. And they've helped me. You can Google SwitchGrocery. We have like 110 Google reviews. We have like 60 Facebook reviews. So when I go out and make that ask, and I never force anything, I can make that ask and they always show up for me. And I'm so grateful for that. That was a very long answer.
No, that was amazing. Actually, it's just you building that relationship and giving them the value they need. That's very insightful and something that I could take on when I start my journey. Thank you so much for your time, and it was lovely to have this conversation. Is there anything that you would like to add, or any feedback that you can get on?
Well, I love Humber College. I love your program. We've hired SwitchGrocery's like hired from your program. So I'm just really grateful that you reached out to me for this interview. I think that questions were so well thought out, brilliant, amazing questions. And if there's anyone who's listening and you ever have a question for me, you can reach me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way. Send me literally your question in a message, add me on LinkedIn and just say, heard you on this interview. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So just want to end it right. Like, I wish you, Neha, and Switch, like all the success in your future endeavors. Like, I really support what you're doing.
Thank you.